everybody. Welcome back to our Caregiver Survival Series. It's the number 3 of the survival series that we've been doing. The first time we talked about taking care of your back. Remember to keep on doing that. Then we talked about how important it is for you to sleep well so you can be energized for that child that you're caring for and your family. And today we have a topic that is a little more problematic when it comes to deciding what to talk about. People don't always want to talk about it. We're going to talk about showing up for life. How to take in the people around you, the people in your family, the people in the community that don't really have the same situation that you have. They might not have a special needs child, so they might not always understand what you go through, and they don't always know how to handle you as if you are an alien or something because you have a special needs child. So the goal of today is to just put some thought into how people perceive the situation and how we can probably address it in a more productive way. Instead of getting resentful or getting mad and somebody being uncomfortable, let's see if we can cover some ground in terms of making peace with what is now. Okay? To set the tone, I wanted to bring a quote, a very powerful quote that Ted Roosevelt wrote a long time ago, but it's still very appropriate for us. And I see it in Brené Brown's work. She uses it as her solid way of defining where we are in life. So I wanted to read it with you guys. Let's read it together so it can just sink in where we are and we can feel where we're going. Okay? This is called The Man in the Arena. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds would have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred with dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error or shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deed, who knows great enthusiasm, the great devotion, who spends himself in a worthy cause, this again, in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who never know victory nor defeat. So what we're trying to do here is to be in the arena. And that I don't have to tell you, because you are already in the arena, and I've seen it. I see it every day. When I see a parent coming into therapy, or I see them out in the community or in any event that we do, you guys are showing up. I see sometimes the struggles, the obstacles, the sweat, the blood, the crying, but also I see the strength, the power to step up and keep on going, soldiering on, stand up again, try again, and triumph because it's a worthy cause. I'm talking not really to you, but to the ones around you today, because I already see where you are, and I'm here to validate where you are and that you are showing up for life. So the other ones can see what you're doing and that you are showing up for life. You are in the arena, and I see it. And I want to be in the arena with you, and we want to invite your family, your neighbors, your co-workers, the community, the human race to be in the arena with you, because your arena is not any different than the arena. We might have different fights, different struggles, but we're all in the arena when we choose to show up and do what we need to do. To talk about that, I wanted to first bring a little bit about reality and perception of reality. A lot of times the parents have their reality, which is sometimes the child is in a wheelchair, it's a physical need every day. There are some struggles related to that. And people who are not in that situation might say, oh my gosh, it's so hard for them. They have a wheelchair to deal with every day. They have to put this kid in and out. Yes, maybe from where you stand, it might sound like that. But to the parent who is there, this is their reality. This is what they do. It's like a parent of quadruples, that's their reality. How do they do that? They do it because they have to. It's part of their life. It's what showed up for them. So they're showing up in their arena dealing with 4 children, 4 babies, 4 baths, 4 bottles, the same way you have your situation. Even within the community of special needs family, there are different perceptions. I'm going to share with you something that I observed. One day I had a mom come into therapy, and there was somebody leaving therapy, and she said, wow, I don't know how she does that. Having to deal with this child in a wheelchair, caring for, picking him up, changing him, and every position he has to go through, she has to position him. He cannot move for himself. That must be so hard. I don't think I could ever do that. And then I say, yes, she does a great job. She does it. And then later on, another day, there is a mom that comes to me when this one mom who made that comment is leaving. And she says, wow, I don't know how she does that. My child is not in a wheelchair. My child's in a wheelchair, so I know what it feels like to put him there, but he's happy. Once I bathe him, once I put him in a good position, I'm happy. I don't know how she does that. With this child, he walks, but he's always going places. He's impulsive. He can run into the parking lot. I would be stressed if I had to deal with that. So we all show up differently with whatever comes our way. So a mom of an autistic kid might perceive the arena of a mom of a physically impaired kid as too much. The same way a mom of special needs with physical impairments might think that the autistic mom has too much on her plate. So it's all about perception of reality. So if within the community of special needs family we have those different perceptions, imagine what happened with those families that actually don't have either one. So we have to put ourselves in their shoes as well. They sometimes want to help. They are trying to perceive from where you stand, but it's not always that easy because that's not their reality. So that's when our job is to educate them. We're not going to miss a chance to educate them in a positive, graceful way, but that's our goal. We need to learn to use the teachable moments to help our community, our human race do better every day. I see people doing better every day, but what sits with most of us is when things are not going great. I've had moms tell me things like, oh, I was in the parking lot the other day and this lady comes out of nowhere, gives me a hug when I have my child in a wheelchair, and she goes, oh, poor you. I don't know how you do it. Gives me a hug and walks away. That didn't feel good at all. She puts you into this little and very down there. So, yes, but I also have moms who come and tell me, wow, I was at the doctor's office and this kid said, Mom, what's wrong with him? Towards my son who is in a wheelchair. And the mom of this child that I've never seen before said, nothing's wrong with him. Look at him. He's a happy kid. So those are fun things that happen, but we don't always stick with the positive ones. We try to remember more the ones that go wrong. But there are people out there trying to be part of our lives. So let's talk a little about pity and compassion. When we know the definition of those two things, we learn how to position ourselves. This is not only for special needs family, it's for anybody. You could be in a financial burden. You could be in a situation when you need help, you have a health issue, or you have a special needs kid, or you lost your job. It could be any problem that you're going through, any obstacles that you're going through in life. Some people are going to come to you with compassion, and some people are going to come to you with pity. So, pity is when you look at the person with empty eyes. You don't see any. It's not my privilege or your privilege to go through things. We all go through it. Compassion is when you look at the other person towards the strength of that person. You see that person as an equal. So if you see that person falling down on the ground with blood and sweat and trying hard, you go down and you help that person stand, and you say, let's stand here together and let's walk together until you can go, because I know you've got what it takes to keep going on this journey. This is being compassionate. You can go down to help her up so she can be your equal, because you see that person from the point of strength. She's full of strength, not empty of it. You know she has the power. She's just now going through some rough times, but you know the power is within that person. And the only reason you know that, it's because you've been there before yourself. And if you are able to get out of that, the other person has the ability to do just the same. So you learn that and you will know when you treat with compassion. When somebody comes to you and say, I don't know how you do it. Well, I know how you do it, just the same way you do. I do because that's what's in my life. The same way you do what's in your life. Again, the arena is here for everybody. And whatever fight we have, that's our fight. The job of the people around the one that is struggling, and the struggle goes up and down. Today it's me, tomorrow it's you, then it's me again, and then it's you. So we struggle at different times, at different levels. So if we can help one another through the struggles, that's when we all grow. So when we understand that a person is offering us pity, we know how to respond. And when a person is offering you compassion, you know how to respond. But when you cannot differentiate those two things, you get confused, and then you are mad at yourself for not responding the right way. So now that you understand that if the person is looking at you as if you were less than that person and pointing you down and keeping you down, that's pity. We don't need that. If a person is looking at you and offering you help because she knows you can keep on going, all you need is that little extra hand this very moment, that's compassion. And that we can take gracefully. Another thing that I want to talk about is when people offer help that wasn't unsolicited help. Somebody will come to you out of the blue and start pushing your chair or starting doing things for you. That person has more needs than you. That person wants to feel good about herself, so you are the tool for her to feel good. So sometimes it's super disrespectful. She's invading your space to offer the help when you didn't even tell her you needed any help. However, there are times when you see a person struggling and you don't offer to help. That is not very kind. You don't need to go ahead and do things, but there is something very simple. Ask. Ask a person, may I help you? Is there anything I can do to help? If the person says, yes, great, thank you, you go right in and jump full force and help. If the person says, no, I've got it, just know she's got it. The same thing we do. Sometimes somebody will come and offer me help and I'll say, I got this. Or sometimes I'll say, thank you, I really needed your help. So it's good for every stage of life and every situation, not just special needs. But in our case, when I see the kids with special needs, people tend to be a little uncomfortable. The right thing to do, ask. The person will tell you. So that's when the person, the caregiver, needs to understand and define, is this being a pitiful approach or a compassionate approach? Once you know that, you know how to respond. And if it's a pitiful approach, you can say, thank you, but I'm strong, I've been doing this, I got this. And you can say gracefully, but you can tell the person, I am not here for your pity, you know? And when a person is offering you in a compassionate way, you can also say, thank you, I always love when a person asks. And then you make that person understand that asking is the right way to go, right? So one thing that I wanted to talk about, we're going to give you a link later on for a TED Talk about resilient people. I saw this video a while back and it stayed in my head. She talks about 3 things that resilient people have, habits, 3 habits of resilient people. So you will have the link that you can go and look at that TED Talk later. But I'm just going to give you some pointers from that TED Talk. It's a 15-minute video. I'll give you just the short version, and you can, when you have time, you can just go and look at it. There are 3 things that people who are in the arena trying hard and are resilient and will get up and keep on fighting have. Habit number 1, they get that shit happens. Yes, they understand that life is not always a walk in the park. They never say, why me? They will say, why not me? I'm just as human as the next person. Because when I say, why me? Well, things don't always happen to your neighbor. It happens to you. Because your neighbor's neighbor is you. So yes, why me? Why not me? So things come, and it is the arena that we are in. So we have to think at that as a good way to be resilient. Because if you spend time with it, why me? You are wasting your energy and not moving anywhere and staying in that resentful place that is just exhausting and doesn't take you anywhere. The second habit of resilient people, they choose where they put their attention. Throughout your day, throughout the week, throughout the month, you're going to encounter situations, people, acquaintance, people in the park, people in the community. You're going to be faced with situations that you can put your full attention there or not. The way to do it is it worth me putting attention to this person or this situation or this problem? When you learn to differentiate where you put your attention, you don't waste your energy on the small things. It's like don't sweat the small stuff. But who decides what small stuff? It's you. So the resilient person is always going to say, no, I'm not going there. That is a waste of my time because I'm going to be going in circles and I'm not going to accomplish anything. So they choose good. They tune into good. So the people, they're, let's say, a little more negative. They're always looking at you or coming to you with their problems and just don't always have a positive thing to tell you. Always just talking about the negative part of the situation. That can be exhausting. So the resilient person tends to not elaborate on those conversations. If you're going to be complaining, the resilient person is just going to say, until you fade away. Because it's just exhausting and it's not going anywhere. It is important to have a place to vent and so somebody can help you validate your journey, yes. But when your habit, your pattern is to complain, 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 you get into that circle again, like a hamster in that little wheel. The resilient people tend to not tune into that. They will tune into good. How to tune into good stuff? We learn to be grateful for the little simple things that happen every day, because we know that happiness is not made of major accomplishments once a year. They are made of small little daily things that creates that feeling of comfort, serenity, and I'm getting something accomplished here. So one thing that I suggest is the gratitude jar. This is just any jar you might have, and I prefer to have it plastic with a lid that I can just put on. This is just I had nuts in here and I just used this jar. So this is a great thing to do with family, with siblings, and even your grandparents can be part of it, cousins, neighbors, whoever. Get a little note, and every day, each person in the family will write something that they're grateful for. Or once a week, or whoever walks in the house to visit, it's part of their duty to write something they're grateful for. And that jar is quite handy. It sits everywhere. The kids can play with it because it's always where you can see. So when you look at this jar full of those little sticky notes saying the things that you're grateful for, just to visualize this jar full of little notes tells you have tons to be grateful for. And we're going to save this for those days when life is a little extra tough, when the arena is a little too foggy, when you can't see where you're going, when you just came from the doctor and the doctor didn't tell you the best thing you wanted to hear, or you weren't treated the way you were expecting to be treated by a colleague or by the school personnel, whatever happened. That would be a good time for you to come home, take a deep breath, and open this and read a few of these. That will be medication for calming down that feeling of being too hard. Everything is too tough in this arena. So then you can use this to feed your soul and remind you that you have tons of things that you should be grateful for. Not should, that you can. Because should is just something you should do. You can, it's available. But if you choose not to, nobody can do it for you. Should do is not something that we want to focus on. This is what you can and cannot do. But it's up to you to decide to do it or not do it. Nobody can do it for you. So being grateful, you can choose to be grateful or choose not to. But when you choose to be grateful, you can accomplish a lot. So that's the second habit of a resilient person. The third habit of a resilient person is they will always ask the question, is it helping me or harming me? In any situation. Let's say this toxic relationship with this person that I meet at the park and tells me a million times how great her life is, everything is super perfect, or my Facebook friend who has a perfect life and keeps telling me, I don't know how you do it because I am doing blah, 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 and I have a fantastic life and I don't know how you do. Oh, poor you. So you choose, is this helping me or harming me? That is a good question for you to ask if you are resilient, to see what you're going to shave off of your life or encourage to stay in your life. Another thing is, I eat at night and it makes me have a very bad night's sleep. I have reflux and whatever happened. Is it helping or hurting me? So I'm going to make a choice of, I will make a decision of no longer eating at night. This job that I'm in, it's helping or harming me. When I put everything in a balance, you put the benefits, the pros and cons, is it helping or harming me? So a resilient person is always putting things in a balance, checking, is this, put the benefits, put the cons, and see, is this helping or harming me? And it's good for you to use towards feelings, towards relationships, towards choices you're making in life. Always ask, is it hurting or helping me? So let's just recap here. Resilient people, they know that life happens for everybody. So it is what it is. Life is not always a walk in the park, but I understand. Why me? No. Why not me? So I'm in the arena, I'm going to do this. 2, I choose to look at the good stuff. I choose because I can. So gratitude. 3, is it hurting or helping me? And that's when you stay more resilient. And being more resilient is what we're hoping for, because that will help us go forward. Now, let's talk about values. If you know what your values are, it's a lot easier for you to define what stays, what enters in your life, and what does not enter, and what you remove from your life. There is an amazing author, Brené Brown. She has several books. One of her books, and there is also a YouTube video that you can watch called The Power of Vulnerability. She's amazing. We can send you a link later on about that. But in reading a book called Daring Greatly, Brené Brown talks about values. When you don't know what your values are, you don't know where you're going, and you don't know what your standards are. So first thing you have to do to define where you stand in life is to know what your values are. Okay, let's see, what are my values? Oh, my value is my family, my value is honesty, loyalty, courage, faith, whatever it may be. When she said that, I came up with a few things. And then she says, no, we're going to do this differently. We're going to print out a list of values. And this, I have the link for you as well from the book. It's free. You can print from her website. It will be a list with a lot of words representing values. How she suggests we do this is you circle the things that resonate with you. And she said, we need 2. And I thought, I can do this. Give me 10 minutes. It didn't work out that way. So I circle around 20 things that resonated with me. She says, you gotta shrink it to 2. And I was trying to do it, but it never happened. It took me 5 days to come up with 2. I had to revisit that list and revisit that list. And then you keep on shrinking, and then you have 10. And from those 10, get 5 until you get 2. Those are your 2 core values. That's what this defines the line on the sand for you. Yours is different than mine. They're all important. And usually, when you have your 2 values, they usually there are many other ones embedded in them, but they are your north. That's how you define where you're going. My example to you, my values are kindness and accountability. So when I figured that out, when I finally got to those 2, I looked back and I understood why some people couldn't stay in my life. Some people could not be my friend. Some people could not, because it was clear to me, if you tell me you're going to do something and you don't do it, you cross the line of my values. The same way, when I tell you that I'm going to do something for you and I fall short, I am crossing my line on the sand for myself. So that's when I call self-sabotage. So I am lower my own standards. So that is not good. When a person is not kind around me or towards me or in my presence, it doesn't sit right with me. So she's crossing my line in the sand. So you will figure out which ones are yours. And once you know that, it's very easy for you to define why some people come and stay in your life and why some people don't. If let's say your core values are courage and faith, you will know those are the basic values and how people stay or don't stay in your life. So I do encourage you to print, and if you need me to email you or print a copy, if you don't have a printer, I can mail it to you, we can print it, you can pick up at the office, because you can even do this during therapy time as your leisure time, because it's quite revealing to know your values and to go by them, because then they start to define your road. It's really helpful, and I've only done it maybe 6 months ago, and it was really eye-opening for me to see my values, and now I understand. I know myself a little better now, and I do encourage everybody to do the value exercise and put that into practice. So once you have your values, and now you know the difference between pity and compassion, so you learn to define things a little better. Knowing where you stand makes it easier for you to know where you're going and how gracefully you're going to go. So know your values, know how to be resilient, know how to be in the arena gracefully. This is the goal here. We are in the arena, let's do it gracefully. And to do it gracefully, you have to know yourself a little better. And that way you can understand the people around a little better. One of the people that you have to understand better than yourself at this point is your child, is the one you're trying to represent in the society if your child doesn't speak, is the child that you're trying to protect, that you're trying to advocate for. So you have to know your child a little better. So let's figure out, for you to know your child better, you need to encourage your child to be him or herself. And the only way to do this is to spend time in your child's world. Not in the adult worlds, what they should expect of him, how he should perform. Go into your child's world so you know him, so you define his or her values. You will define what makes his or her heart sing. That's how you're going to define the needs of your child. So I know you guys are great at doing that already, but you don't get enough credit for doing that, and you don't give yourselves enough credit for doing that. So when people around you are judging, because they're out of the arena looking at you and see you doing certain things that you are super particular about doing with your child, you in your head, you will know, I'm doing this because I'm trying to know my child and what sings in his heart, so I can help him experience life. I can be the facilitator for his experience in life. So know your child. Know what games he enjoys playing. Know what music helps him sparkle up. It's just something that makes his eyes just shine. Learn what his body language is telling you. You know all that, but you have to understand that you don't give yourself enough credit for this job of understanding the needs and the uniqueness of your kid. So in doing so, you're actually building self-esteem in your child. So he's learning to be who he is and show up in his own arena with your support and facilitation. So not only we have to take care of our arena, the arena of our family, our children, our community, our human race. So we are always a facilitator of somebody else's arena when we choose to do so. So the parents could also think, I need to find things that are a positive reinforcement for kids. Somebody might be judging you when you make it, but you know in your heart why you're doing this. You're doing this so you can know your child better. You're doing this so you can validate his journey. That's when you learn. This comment, is it helping me or harming me? Let it go. So ignore. Sometimes that's the only way you can do it. If your child is capable of doing things around the house, he can have some little responsibilities, because we all do. So that will help build his self-esteem, and it's going to help him understand his value in life. If your child cannot do that, there are other things that he can do to help. Let's say a kid in a wheelchair, that the only thing he can do, he can make choices by looking at two different objects. That's the only way he can help. So you can say to your kid, hey son, we're going to therapy right now. What do I need? My keys? Or do I need the leash to take the dog for a walk? His job is to tell you what you need. This is his help towards the job of going to therapy, because you've got to meet him where he is. Make this a priority. This is your job. That's not my job. Your job is to make that selection. And we're ready to go. I need you to tell me, do I need the car keys or do I need the leash? Because you know your child is capable to make that choice. So you can expect of him to participate in your life that way. It's a simple thing. It's very small, because that's where he is. A kid who is physically able to go from A to B, you can make him help you with the trash can. Just pull the trash out of the curb back to where it belongs. Whatever it is you guys decide. A little responsibility is part of the journey. We all here to contribute, not to just get a free ride. Just because a kid has a lot of disabilities, a lot of needs, doesn't mean he cannot contribute. Your dad is coming home now. He worked super hard. Your job is to give him your best smile. There he is. Show up. Give him your best smile. He just worked too hard to help us. So I need to see that smile coming out of your face. He can do that. He's totally capable. So expect of your child to participate in the journey. He has to contribute. You meet him at the level he's at, but he needs to contribute. And it's you that will help him be there. If you don't have kids with special needs, but you are involved with kids with special needs, bring the activity to their level. If you have a kid in your group of friends, everybody's going to go for a bike ride and he can't ride a bike. Why can't we go for a walk instead? Why can't we just play Ring Around Roses? Why can't we just play Duck Duck Goose? Do something that involves everybody. Just modify the task. It's not that hard. Just think simple. What could we do that everybody could be doing this in sitting instead of running? Everybody can go about their business and do whatever. But find activities that help to include the kids that you're trying to include in your life and learn from, right? The definition of self-esteem is good for you, it's good for your child, it's good for me, it's good for everybody. Because that's how we find who we are in life. The definition is, I know who I am, I believe in what I do, and I belong. Those are the settings for good self-esteem. I know who I am. I know my values. I know what makes my heart sing. I know what I want from life. I know what my goal is. I know why I show up in the arena. I know what I can do because I fell, I stood up, and I walked again. So I know I'm capable. I know I can do this. And I belong. I am part of somebody's life. So the same thing that you need for your self-esteem, your child needs too. So he needs to know that he belongs in his family, immediate family and extended family, in his neighborhood, in his school, in the community. All of us, we need to feel that we belong. And to belong, we need to be included. And for us to be included, somebody has to modify the task to meet us where we are. The arena can be different for each one of us each day. So that's how we're going to meet one another and fight together. If you are, now I'm going to talk not to you, I already talked to you, and I'm going to say once again, you don't give yourself enough credit. You do a great, I see it every day. You do a great job, but you got to remember to tell yourself you are in the arena and you are succeeding every single day. When you come here and you just had a doctor's appointment yesterday that didn't go so well, and you still show up to therapy with a smile on your face and you say, let's go through this. That is you being in the arena very gracefully. And I get to see it every day. I feel privileged that I get to see you fight every day and stand up again and again. So now I need to talk to those other people that don't have a special needs kid, but also have an arena. They also have shortcomings. They also have failures. They also have a sense of not belonging sometimes. They also have a sense that the arena is super foggy sometimes, but they don't have a special needs kid. So sometimes we think that they don't understand where we are. They do. They're just uncomfortable talking about it, or they don't understand themselves where they are. So what we need to do is be compassionate towards them, because they can't see very far. Everything is a little foggy. So we might be a little enlightenment for them at this point, shine some light in the situation. So that's what we're going to do now. If you are a friend of a special needs family, if you are a neighbor, if you are a teacher, if you are somebody in the community, if you are a distant family, if you are just a stranger, these are a few things that I wanted to talk to you about, how to approach a special needs family child the same way you would want to be approached. That's how. The very same way. With respect, with a question, instead of invading the space. The same way that you expect. It is exactly the same way. It might look different because sometimes people look at the label and forget that the label has so many different shades. Just because a kid has cerebral palsy doesn't mean that cognitively she is at a very low level or very high level. She could be anywhere in between. Same way, when you look at me or yourself or anybody in the neighborhood that doesn't have a label of a cerebral palsy, just a typical person walking down the street, we all have different stories behind us. We all have different ways of dealing with life. So we all have different levels of understanding, different levels of kindness, different levels of accountability, different levels of courage. We all in the arena learning as we go. So ask. This is one thing you can do. How can I help you? Is there anything I can do? When you see the struggle, ask. The same way I will ask you if I see you on the road and your stuff just fell all over the floor. I say, can I help you? And you start helping pick up all the oranges that are on the floor. Same thing. Ask. When somebody is interacting with you, don't be judgmental. Just because his speech is a little slurred, respond kindly, not judgmental. Sometimes the speech might be impaired, but the cognition is there. And even if the cognition is not there at the level that you should expect for that age group, that person still needs to be treated kindly because it's a person like you and I. So kindness is always the currency that we want to use when we're exchanging with somebody else. It doesn't matter if the looks tell you something. That is your perception. That doesn't mean that it's what's out there. Another thing is If you say something like, oh, at least she doesn't have cancer, that is not helpful. The same way, if somebody told you, well, I broke my foot, well, at least they're not going to amputate your foot, That is not what they are going to appreciate from you. So the same way, we cannot expect that you're going to treat somebody like that. Another thing that I wanted to say is that you can help the families of special needs by being extra helpful towards the siblings. A mom of a special needs and a dad of a special needs kid, sometimes they are busy going to doctor's appointments and things, so the sibling could probably use a play date with your child. Sometimes, hey, can I take your son so we can play a little bit while you're going to the doctor with your other child? It will be great. That's a great way to help, The same way, you see a mom with 5 kids. Don't we always say, hey, can I help this little guy while you guys are going to school or going to soccer practice? It's the same thing. You offer the help the same way. Ordinary friendship. Just because you have special needs child doesn't mean all you want to do is talk about doctor's appointment, therapy, and equipment and stuff. Sometimes you want to just talk about day-to-day things, regular things that we all do talk about. We don't have to just talk about special needs all the time. We special needs moms, dads, caregivers in general need a place to vent. If you can be that person who can offer that sacred place where they feel protected to talk sometimes, not a crying party, that's not it, and not a complaining, but sometimes, like you and I, you have that person who can say, oh, I need to unload. Can you just listen to me for a moment here, because I'm going to explode. When we are in the arena, we have those moments. We do need to talk about it. So parents of special needs kids are not different. And you might surprise you that what they have to talk about has nothing to do with the kids. It has to do with themselves. They might be saying, oh, I'm so disgusted with myself because I'm not keeping up with my diet. I had a fight with my husband. The kid might not even come as part of the conversation. Just because you have a special needs, it doesn't mean you don't have a life. You do have other things that upset you and, bother you, and you need to vent. So if you are a friend of somebody who has special needs kids and you can provide that sacred place for that person to talk, that is more than a lot of people can do. So be that person, be that friend, be there to help her validate that she's doing a good job. The same way you like to be told, wow, I like the way you're doing a great job. These parents, they're going from A to B to C so fast. They don't have time to stop. It's great when somebody says, hey, I'm watching you. I see what you're doing. I see you doing a fantastic job. I see you in the arena doing it gracefully. So that is important for us to remember to tell them that. Another thing that we need to remember, I'm going to close with this, compassion towards yourself. You have compassion towards others, you have compassion towards your child, but you have to have compassion towards yourself. So the same way you have to have compassion towards that person who is around you. She might not know that it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to offer to help. They might not perceive you as a typical person, so you might have to educate them. So offer opportunities for them to learn what's in your life. Let's give an example here. If you go to the grocery store and you are going through the cashier and you have your child, and the person is uncomfortable because you have a kid, a special needs kid in a wheelchair, and the cashier might be uncomfortable. You could do something like, I have a kid who loves basketball. He's always wearing a LeBron shirt. LeBron James is his favorite person in the world. So if you pushing that kid through the cashier and he has his basketball shirt on and you see that the cashier is uncomfortable, you could do something like, hey, Brandon, tell her about your love for basketball. She might just start talking about basketball and she might go home that night and say to her family, guys, I met a kid at the store today. He loves basketball. She's not going to be thinking wheelchair. She's not going to be thinking special needs. Poor you. I don't know how you do it. She's going to be thinking basketball, that a kid in a wheelchair can love basketball and is just like you and I, like sports. Another time, if you go to the park and your child doesn't talk, he's not interacting with anybody because physically he cannot do that, a kid comes around and is curious. You could say, you know what? He loves Blue's Clues. Do you know any Blue's Clues song? He would love to hear you sing. That's your chance to make your child lighten up because he loves blues. You know that about him. So invite the other child to be part of your kid's life. So sometimes you have to put it out there too. Understand that a lot of times they want to be part, but they can't because they don't know how. So give them a little clue, give them a hint on how to be part of your life. If you ever need to know about cartoons, I have the perfect kid to talk to you. I have a patient here. He will give you any information you need on the Disney characters, on Looney Tunes, because that's his thing. So it's a perfect thing if he goes to the dentist to talk about the t-shirt that he's wearing with Donald Duck. And instead of looking at the disability, you can look at a person who lost Donald Duck. This is how we want to show up in the arena. This is me, and I like this. This is how I show up for life. These are the things that make my heart sing. This is my child. That's what makes his heart sing. So if you are a special needs mom, I hope you show up the same way you're showing up, but more inviting. Just invite more people in your life. If you are not a person that has a special needs child, be more open to be part of the invitation so we can all be in the arena together. Okay? Thank you so much for being here. It was a pleasure.